What's up, YouTube? We've got another great episode for you guys. So, we've got another banger here. We're going to get into a few different topics, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you don't, let me know in the comments, and I'll edit and make it worth your while. But I figured this was a good mix of things to get into with what's going on in the world right now. Right? So, we need actual proof. We need actual people to show us this proof. There's a lot of things that we need to know what's going on right now. Now, I know you can all feel it. If you're like me, you can feel what's going on. And then once you feel it, you can go meditate and go inside, which takes you out to your higher self, and you can truly understand what's really going on. There's so much going on right now, but unfortunately, it's being blocked off by, the misinformation and disinformation mafia. So, again, let me express this. This is for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe anything you see in these videos. Don't believe anything that I say, but do your own research. I see a lot of people out here putting videos, putting content like what I'm putting out there. Now, there's not many of them that have any experience in these areas. One that I will say that I do follow and that I do look up to is Dre OG. That's probably not a good thing for me to mention another person who's got a much bigger platform and speaks real stuff, but he's been in the military. He's he's very knowledgeable, and my knowledge comes from me coming from a military family, being raised in another country, but being in 30 different countries, looking for and studying the things that became interesting to me at the time. And sure, there's places that I want to go back to where I didn't truly understand them as a child, 7, 8 years old. I might have not understood certain things the way I would today. But that's, that's not the norm. That's the, that's an exception. That's not the norm for me. So, uh, yeah, I hope you guys like some of this. Let me know in the comments what you think, but we've got to get into this stuff because there's been a lot going on, and there's been a lot of disinformation and misinformation going on, and people just don't know which way to go. And there's some people that are kind of hitting on it about 1/3%, and then they go off topic. They go somewhere else. They go left when they should have gone right, and it's leading you to the wrong place. So let's get into it. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's see what we've got. Now, the first one we're going to put up is Bashar. Now, mind you, I have said this might be a snake oil salesman. He might not know what he's talking about. But one thing I do share with you that's very personal when it comes to me is, I was unalived for almost 2 hours. And the doctor said that if I did come back, I would come back as a vegetable. I came back, and I came back normal. And what I was left with was knowing, and this happened in my 20s, so it's been a while since I've been dealing with it. But I came back with knowing, and when I hear someone speaking universal and cosmic law, things that I know, it's different from belief, it's different from faith. I don't care what you believe, I don't care what you have faith in. This is knowing. Knowing. There's nothing else like knowing, right? So when I hear somebody speaking about this kind of thing, I pay attention because I know that I know it. It is a position of knowing. Not a position of faith. It's not a position of hope or belief. It's a position of knowing. So let's see what we can see.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
I have a question about addiction.
Yes.
I've heard that addiction can be stemmed from kind of entities
No.
in
No.
the human energy field.
No.
No?
Where's the responsibility there?
I know that was kind of my question.
Thank you. Addiction comes from a belief in lack of self-empowerment, which creates a sensation of emptiness that then the consciousness attempts to fill with anything it can. However, it comes from also a denial of that sense of disempowerment, and therefore, instead of actually knowing that the connection is never left to your source of self-empowerment, you are left to believe that you are disconnected. And since you cannot, through the denial, find a way to feel the connection, you attempt to fill that emptiness with things that then dull your awareness of the disconnection. Mm-hmm. You understand?
That makes sense. I mean, I have a couple who psychic sensitive friends who say, like, if you drink or do drugs, you expand yourself, and you open yourself up to kind of negative parasitic.
That's different, because you've already created the energy field and you've already created the vibration that may, in a sense, then match the energy of other entities who may be operating on a similar level and attracting yourselves to each other, so to speak. But it's not, in a sense, parasitic in the way that you mean it. It's simply the idea that it's like vibration to like vibration.
Okay.
You understand? If you find the idea of the belief and let it go and suddenly understand that you are connected to your source of empowerment, you will automatically break that link. And when you're not operating on the same wavelength, something operating on that low wavelength can no longer find you. You become invisible to them. You understand?
Interesting, yes.
But it's not like they're causing it.
No.
You're the one that's creating it within yourself, and then you're just hanging around with like-minded buddies.
Okay, that makes sense. Hello, Bashar.
So I hope you guys understood what he was saying. So these things are not naturally created. We create them within ourselves. And we have so much power to where we can literally manifest. We do manifest our reality. But most people manifest it in a negative way. Whatever you can call it circumstantial, call it whatever you want. But you manifest things in the way that you know. And if all you've known is poverty, then you're going to manifest perverse things. That's just it. You have to go through a lot of different things to get through the other side. And you'll hear people use terms like shadow work. Well, I hear people say that, but I truly, at my core, know shadow work. And I know that if you're doing shadow work, there's a very high chance that you're not going to make it out to the other side. There's a very high chance of that. You don't understand it. And then once all of those emotions and feelings hit you, you have no way to cope with it. So it happens. You become someone else. That someone else becomes unalive. That happens so much more than people want to give credit to. Now, true shadow work is letting go of your ego, but also understanding who you are. You know, keeping that silver cord with your higher self and understanding, hey, this is my higher self, and this is what my higher self is telling me to do, or believe, or trust in. Whatever words you want to use we truly don't have the vocabulary to explain these things. That's why it's so difficult, because these are other extra interdimensional things that we don't have the vocabulary for. So we're doing the best that we can with what we've got, right? So when you go through all of that, you come out completely changed. Now, if you truly do shadow work is, and this is a metaphor, you're not physically looking in a mirror, but you're looking at yourself in a mirror and you're saying, okay, well, I've done all these things. I'm pretty much a piece of shit for doing these things. Lots of people have done a lot of things for a lot of years that fall into that category. But the thing is, when you're doing shadow work and you do it properly, come out on the other side as a better person. It's almost like you're reborn. And that's one thing that, not to get religious at all, but that's one thing that Christ was talking about. Yeshua, talks about when heart and mind are one, you can move mountains. Now, what was discovered recently, less than, I want to say it was less than 12 years ago, is that your heart has a little brain. And that little brain within your heart controls more than your actual brain. So understand that. Understand that thought, consciousness, mind, and that inner heart plays a massive role in everything that you do with your daily life. And once you get a bead on it, your manifestations could be so miraculous. I've seen it, I've done it. I'm only speaking from my own experiences. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to tell you, which route to take or what to believe. I'm just saying I can do this on a daily basis, and I do certain things on a daily basis. It always works for us, or for me. But there's many people that do the same thing. I'm not alone in this. But you have to let go of the ego. You have to let go. And it has nothing to do with femininity or masculinity. It has nothing to do with alpha. It has zero to do with any of that. But it has to do with taking a really good look at yourself and taking a deep dive into who you are as a person, not a soul, as a person here, taking a deep dive. And then you say, oh, wow, I've been doing this for the past decade. If someone else were to be doing the same thing, I would say, person's a piece of shit, stay away from them. But then that's you. So it's all up to you. Change it. If you don't like it, change it. If you're not satisfied with it, alter it. You have that power. You have it. We were given dominion over all of those things. But people, I don't like when people convolute the words, the wording, the definitions, so just know you have power over all of it. Nothing of it can affect you unless you allow it to. That's the thing.
I like mushrooms. Have you ever done mushrooms?
No.
Okay, you should do mushrooms. You would actually really enjoy them. I have a thesis for psilocybin mushrooms. Japanese scientists observed that there is an experiment that Japanese scientists did, and what they did is there was a labyrinth that represented the Tokyo subway system. And they planted mycelium, aka the mushroom, and they placed food on the other side of this virtual toy version of the subway system. And the mycelium, aka the mushroom, found a more optimized way of finding the endpoint, aka the food, than the engineers had crafted the Tokyo underground underground metro system. The entire Japanese current metro system is based on the mycelium networks movement because it is intelligent. So when you consume the mushroom, you're actually tapping into data sets in truth that come from the earth.
So I've spoke about this in a few of my videos, especially when it comes to the mountains that are actually tree trunks. And I've said, I've spoken about the root systems. And the largest root system of any plant is the mycelium mushrooms. Now, the mycelium network not only can span pretty much vastness of our planet, but they do this to communicate. They can sense harm, they can sense positive and negative things, and they will react to them. It's the same thing to where you do the rice experiment. Take your control, a cup of rice, and then you take 2 more cups of rice. Now, one, like I said, this is from Christ, Yeshua. He says when heart, mind are one, you can move mountains. So with heart and mind, you focus anger at that small glass of rice. And with the other glass, you do the exact opposite. Focus positivity, love, pure unconditional love. Then you have your control, which you haven't done anything. You can keep them in a fridge, you can keep them in one part of your house, you can keep them in 3 different states. The results will always be the same. Once you figure out how to link mind and heart into one, we'll see the results. And the results are disgusting. The rice turns black, it turns bad, it's spoiled. Rice should not do that within a few days. Even though I was, raised in Germany, I grew up very Asian, Korean and Thai. And so, and a lot of Chinese medicine. So rice was a big part of my daily, my daily experiences. So, yeah, you should definitely take heed to that. But don't listen to people when they say, you should just do it. There's a process to it. And it took me a while to figure out that process. And I wouldn't sit here and say, oh, it's easy, anybody can do it. Yeah, anybody can do it, but it takes a lot of practice. It takes understanding how to link your mind and your body, your brain and your heart brain. Your mind and your heart. It takes a lot to link. Because even if you were doing something to where it didn't quite make sense to you, then that brain in your heart, which was only discovered, like I said, not that long ago, that brain in your heart that has more synapses than your actual brain is going to sit there and say, well, I'm better than this. So whatever they're trying to pull over me, I will overcome. That's this talking, not this, not your higher self. That's this talking. So what's happening? All of you are out of sync. You're out of sync. You need to be synchronized with yourself, with universal and cosmic law. That's the big thing. So let's see what else we've got. Now, mind you, I haven't seen these videos. This is Cat Williams. I have not seen this video before, but I love Cat Williams for the way he approaches things. And let's just see what he's got to say.
Called the dark matter tour because this time in history we know more about the universe and space than we have ever known in the history of mankind right fucking now. And some of the shit they done found out, they don't know how to fucking tell you because they don't know how the fuck you might react to some of the shit that they done found out. So they found out that in the universe, All of the galaxies, all of the moons, all of the suns, all the stars, everything we can see with our eyes, they found out that that is 5% of the universe. The fuck? That means we know 5% of what the fuck is out there. They don't want to say what the other 95% is. They don't want to say it's God. They don't want to say it's a nigga God. So they called it dark matter. That's what it is. 95% dark matter. They done found out some shit they don't want to tell you. Thanks to James Webb Telescope, we can see all the way back to where the Big Bang was supposed to be. And guess what? I don't want to be the spoiler alert, but it wasn't no bang, bitch. And it wasn't motherfucking big. So, back to the old drawing.
So I'm going to pause it right here and elaborate on what he's talking about. So the James Webb Telescope, which I'm a major fan of, it uses mostly infrared cameras, right? So it can see all the way to the beginning of the Big Bang. Now, the problem with that is, and you can go to wmap.com. That will show you, the radiation, all of the frequencies that make up our universe. It will show you the map of how it boom and just spread, and then we're at the very edge. Now, what he's talking about is they looked at 13.8 billion years ago to 14 billion years ago. It's the quote-unquote beginning of our Big Bang for our universe. Now, the problem that they've run into is they've looked at it in mere seconds after the Big Bang. They have found, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 galaxies. Galaxies that would have taken at least 500 million years to form. But those are the closest things to the Big Bang. So they're like, well, if the Big Bang were true and all of this were scattered, then how do we have these galaxies that exist that are 500 million years old? It hasn't even been 500 years. It's only been a few seconds since the Big Bang. So that's what he's trying to say. I understand he's doing a comedy routine and he's putting it in a different context, but that's what he's trying to say. So, yeah. We are made up of multiple dimensions stacked on top of one another over and over and over and over. Time always happens now. I've said that in many of my videos. It is always now. Time has never been linear. And so what he's thinking of and what we've always been taught is Big Bang happened, it shot up, it was small enough to be the point of a pin or a needle, and it just exploded all of this material, and it took billions and trillions of years for galaxies, stars, all of these things to form. Well, if those stars never formed, we wouldn't exist, because everything within us, we have all of particles within us that make up stars, all of them, no exception at all. We have that within us. So they're trying to teach you a different way, and you can go by that way if you want. I went by that way for a while. Like I said, many of you know I worked for many government companies: NASA, Lockheed, Northrop, Aerotech. I've had top secret security clearances. I've been to every NASA site in the continental US except for JPL, which is Jet Propulsion Laboratories, which is where Carl Sagan was originally out of. I currently live where Marshall Space Flight Center is, where Werner von Braun is, and there was even a picture of Werner von Braun with my grand uncle on Wikipedia, but then they deleted it for some reason. But his name is Eugene Schaefer, and they were all scientists. You know, has nothing to do with the agenda at the time. You know, even Werner von Braun said when he first launched his V2 rocket, he said it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, except it was going in the wrong direction because they forced him to weaponize it, so it was going, you know, towards the enemy. So, and that's how the space program started. You know, they took off the swastikas and the iron crosses, the US flag on it, and sent that into space. And that's what we know here as the beginning of our space program. But it wasn't supposed to be like that. And there were so many things going on before that that the US didn't know about. That's why when you hear these things about Antarctica, and I know for a fact personally and physically, you know, in Latin America, you know, rat lines, Vatican helping, you know, it's not uncommon. You know, it's very common. So just do your research on that. Don't let people tell you, oh, they were trying to do this but did this. No, there's evidence, because the Germans, we wrote down everything. We notated every little aspect. So if it wasn't written down, then it didn't happen for the most part. I will say for the most part. There's a lot of things, you know, when Fyodor was traveling, you know, he would never let people know where he was going. But also he was on a cocktail of different drugs, you know, primarily methamphetamines. But so his paranoia led him to go be 5 minutes out from a meeting and then turn the plane around. Widen roads for his six-wheel Mercedes. You know, my grandparents lived right there in where this happened on video during this time. So I have a bit of a different perspective when it comes to that. But just understand that, just understand that people are trying to justify things and pull the wool over your eyes when there were rules in place that would negate whatever you're feeling. Just understand that it was never about what it claimed to be about. Russia was never as bad as they claimed to be. I mean, there's a lot of bad aspects in every country. They all have them. But the whole Cold War, it wasn't as bad as you think, you know. But they let quite a bit of people to believe that it was just the most horrific thing. Well, I was behind the Iron Curtain in 1989. You know, I was 8 years old in West Germany. I was in Soviet Union, Russia, till I was 9. So, and that was rare. That tells you, just don't believe everything that you see and hear. You have to do your research and find somebody. You know, there's been a lot of things that have come out from the Ananurba to children that they kidnapped from Norway Sweden, Switzerland, Schweiz, you know, all of these places. So just know that there's an agenda there, and the agenda never stopped. And even though we're here today, that agenda progressed. It was never stopped. So don't let anyone tell you that. Allegedly. Let me say that. Allegedly, for entertainment purposes. Don't let anyone ever tell you that this didn't happen this way. Because it happened many different ways.
Boy. And they found out there's no dead particles nowhere in the universe. None. No dead particles. So that means when your ass leave here, bitch, you go somewhere else. We don't know where the fuck it is. I'm just here to let you know that no matter how your life is going right now, please understand that this is the greatest time to be alive for any human beings that have ever been on this planet right now, and you're the greatest time to be alive. You the first people that don't have to take no shit. If you don't like something, you can motherfucking fix it. You ain't got to take nobody's shit. Even if you don't like the way God made you, you can switch it up.
The back of your eyeball is 1 square inch, called the retina. It contains 137 million light-sensitive cells, all wired to the brain. I cannot imagine hooking up 137 million connections in 1 square inch. The eyeball is so complex, you can walk into a room and look around the room, and in 1 second, your eye picks up enough information to keep the Cray computer busy for 100 years analyzing everything you picked up. Fastest computer in the world. The average person has 50 trillion cells in their body. The DNA from if your entire body's DNA would only fill 2 tablespoons. But if you tied them all together, it would reach from Earth to the moon and back. 5 million round trips out of 2 tablespoons. If you typed out the code found in your DNA, when you got done typing that incredibly complex code, you'd have enough books to fill Grand Canyon 40 times. You think that happened by chance? Well, the probability of just one DNA coming by chance is 1 in 10 to the 119,000th power, which is a big number when you consider the entire visible universe is 10 to the 28th inches in diameter. And they look at the human body today and think we are poor design. I say, first of all, fellas, you need to stop and consider something. What you're looking at right here is a copy off of a copy, 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 off of a copy of Adam. This same gene code's been copied so many times, it's amazing we can stand here and talk about it, okay? You're not looking at the original by a long shot, okay? This one is a poor example of the original.
There's so many truthers who are deceived to think that this rocket is hitting the firmament dome. But I'm about to show you the truth about what it actually hits. Get ready. So many people think that that rocket hit God's firmament dome, and that's why water appeared, because they thought that it was the waters above the firmament that were causing that water type appearance. But they did not hit the firmament, because God said in Proverbs 25 verse 3, the heaven for height and the earth for depth, and the heart of kings is unsearchable. So we know that the height of the heaven is actually unsearchable. And remember, in Genesis 1, God called the firmament heaven. So they cannot search the height of the heaven or of the firmament. They will never be able to reach the firmament. What you saw was a superfluid realm called the ether that they are hiding from you. This realm of superfluid is also known as the blue air. And there's actually explorers who trapped samples of this air. So when you see this blue type liquid, you're seeing the superfluid ether realm that's above us. It starts at about 73 miles up, and it is not the firmament. It is a dense realm of air that is referred to as a superfluid. Back then, they used to believe that the ether permeated space. The reason they're hiding this ether from you is because it actually proves that the earth is not moving at all. So I want to show you this document here that's talking about the ether, right? It's normally transparent, meaning you can't see it, but it can be made visible by hitting it sufficiently hard to knock out a part. Alright, so we know that ether can be made visible when it's hit by something, right? Now you see the superfluid realm being hit. Now look at this moon footage. You have these little waves going across. Here goes another one. So we know the moon is traveling through this ether type realm. Now,
I want to just say that I have personally, physically, seen those waves go through the moon. I've got a pretty nice telescope. It's not by any means like it's expensive, but I can definitely see what's going on. And I've seen, it's like a refresh rate. It's like these waves. It's like a refresh rate. And I think that because you see a refresh rate, that's making people think that it's a hologram, that it's possible to land on. It's either Project Bluebeam or it's a gaseous giant like Jupiter or Saturn. Just cannot land on it because even though it's dense enough to be a planet, there's nothing there for you to land on. Now, why I believe that? I have different experiences that lead to believe that that's not true. Just because of the work that I've done. But Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not a chance that I'm completely right. And that's why I say do your research. Let's come together and talk about this kind of stuff. Because, like I always say, we're all in a accumulation of our experiences. So if my experience with one subject is completely in opposition, diametrically opposed to your experience, we're not going to agree. Now, is that valid enough? No, not at all. So you need to make some kind of scientific test. You hypothesize and then have your base, and you've got to go through a lot to make it seem true. People are just so willing to believe everything just willy-nilly, and that's not how this realm operates at all. It's how certain people of this realm want things to operate. It's not how we operate.
Now, this is why in the 1900s they conducted the Michelson-Morley experiment to try and prove that the Earth is moving through the ether realm. This would prove for them that the Earth is moving through space. Because remember, they said that the ether permeates space, or makes up space. Well, guess what? Lo and behold, they did not observe the movement of the Earth through this ether realm. So what did they do? They pretty much proved that the Earth is not moving. It's stationary. It's not moving through space, or it's not moving through this ether realm. Of course, because God's word is true. He told us the world is established and that it cannot be moved. So then what happened? Einstein released his special theory of relativity. And then the physics community started to accept that the ether does not exist.
Let me pause right there. So I don't know if you all know how Einstein came to his realization about relativity, how things are relative. He used to ride this tram, or back then it was a train, ride it, right? And so they would go through this major clock, akin to Big Ben, but more like Big Ben's little brother. Anyways, there was a clock there, and he started to notice that the faster they went, more that clock slowed down. Faster they went, slower clock, which told him time, went. So I'm not going to say one way or the other. I wasn't there, but I can tell you with absolute zero ego that time does not exist. And in fact, it's linear. Everything's happening now. It's always happening now. I'm talking to you now. And everything I've just said is the past. But I already have in my head what I'm going to say in the future, which is a few seconds later, which is what I'm talking about now. So that's also now. It's always now. So I would just say, do your research. You can quantify it. Times over. You can absolutely quantify all of that. But don't think that because you can quantify it, that it's going to make everything make sense. Because for me, in the beginning, all it did was convolute things more. See where we're at.
But of course they're going to say that the ether doesn't exist because it disproves the ball Earth. But of course, 50 years later, here's more documents. The failure of the US attempts to attain supremacy of the ether. So they know this ether exists. They're just not telling you. Here's another one where the US tried to obtain supremacy of the ether once again. And like I say all the time, they have to put things right in your face. So of course they added into popular video games like Minecraft. You have the ether dimension. Here it is here. What do you see? You see that blue super liquid type fluid realm. Of course they made it blue because they put it right in your face. Here's another game. You have the ether. That's why it's blue. That's why our sky is blue. You're looking at the ether realm, a super fluid. This is why it's important to read your Bible first before you start believing conspiracy theories, right? Because no one can reach the firmament. God told us they cannot measure the heavens for height. God bless you guys. I hope you can spread this information on to someone who got deceived by this. Don't forget to like and follow. I'll see you in the next one.
So let me just speak to that. That's not why you see blue. And I hope, I don't know if I'm the only, engineer, scientist watching my stuff, but it's not why you see blue. So the reason that you see blue because is because the water does not water doesn't take in blue, it reflects it. That's why our atmosphere seems to be blue. That's why all of these things seems blue. It's because it can't be it can't be taken in. It's reflected. And then when you add in water and then you add in light refraction, you see all of these different things. Blue, white, light blue, all of these things are an accumulation of all of those things. And it's because it's over the ocean. Our planet is over 70% water. So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a blue sky. It's because blue cannot be absorbed by water. It can only be reflected by it. And minuscule parts of blue light is taken in by water, but the rest is refracted or reflected back out. So that's why we see blue skies, but that's also why we see blue oceans, beautiful clear blue seas in certain areas. Where I'm at, I'm right above Tennessee. I don't see any of that. I see brown. I see murky, nasty, dirty water. And it's fresh water versus salt water, so you don't have the sterility of the salt in there binding with all of the other agents that would naturally make fresh water less dangerous for creatures living with, but also the creatures living in them. They can't go between the two. There's only a few creatures that can go from salt to fresh water. A bull shark is one. A bull shark is a very extremely angry and mean animal. And it's nature, They have water bladders and they also have lungs. And when they go from salt water to fresh water, they start to use their lungs and their swim bladders shrink up. But also their taste buds are on their teeth. All sharks are. So when you see them going up and tasting somebody and it seems to like rip them in half, they're just trying to taste and see, hey, what is this? Is this something I would like? Well, it just so happens that our skin and our bodies are very frail compared to the teeth of a shark. So they're not doing it to, essentially kill you. They're trying to taste you. Their taste buds lie within their teeth. So that's not an uncommon thing. This happened, I want to say it was around 2007, 2008. Where there were just these major groups of sharks in Florida, and people were on the beach, and they were, knee to chest high, and then there were helicopters flying around showing all of these sharks. They were telling everybody to get inside, but the sharks wouldn't move. The sharks just sat there, and the water just kept coursing through. And they're like, why is this happening? I immediately knew why it's happening. It's called oxygenation, because sharks cannot stop swimming. If they stop swimming, they will die. So now they're sitting there at this coast, and the waves are just going through their gills, which are filters. So they're able to maybe not sleep, but rest a lot. And it made people panic because there were so many of them. But, think about how pissed off you'd be if you've never gotten any good sleep in your life. Ever. So they found this area where they could sit where people surfed, and they stayed a bit further back than where people were surfing, and then the water's just coming through, and it's oxygenating everything around them so they can breathe, they can sleep, they can relax. So yeah, I don't think I put like this comment right here. NASA receives $50 million a day, and people are still asking why would they lie. Now, and let me look at something else. I know, seriously, so many lack common sense. The fact is, people get a lot of money, they aren't capable of bad things. Yeah, or with anything government agency people with of its government that's not equal or that it feels like I'm reading something that a bunch of simpletons wrote, and I'm not trying to be rude at all, but I'm just saying I've worked for NASA, and I mean if they think 50 million a day is their budget, they're way off. I mean, NASA's projects get way more a day, way more, because right now you have the Freedom of Information Act, which that was enacted while I was there, maybe a year and a half before I started. Couldn't get any of that. Then that act was enacted. You can get that information, and now you can get all of the information, certain things, but you're not going to get everything, because I've been on black projects to where nobody knew what was going on, and the funding was tremendous. And if you look at all of the government spending, you'll see this big piece of the pie. It's called black projects, and nobody knows what it is. There might be one or two people in the Pentagon that have to go to court about it that can actually justify it, but nobody does anything about it. I've seen it for myself. I've been there. I've been every NASA site in the U.S. except for JPL, like I've said. And no, you're not going to get an answer, because you have no rank. You as a president, you as anything like that at that level, you're a puppet. You have sold out to these corporations that is now these United States of America corporation. It's not a country. Now, in our minds, we consider each other countrymen. This place is filled with migrants, because very few of us are actually, say this, very few of us have actual ancestors that are from here, which make us from here. But for the most part, no, they're not. So you're not going to find out about these black projects. And lately, and I'm going to make a video on this, I'm going to show you the congressmen that are going to the Senate complaining about this, saying if all of this is fake, and they're going on many of these videos too. They're showing an astronaut doing a spacewalk and then bubbles pop out like he's underwater, and they go to a panel of judges, in the Senate, and they're like, hey, this is what's going on. Is this fake? Because if this is fake, we're losing billions and billions of dollars a year trying to fake something. Why don't we just come out with it? Well, there's a reason. They don't want you to know what it truly is, and they want to control the narrative. And if it's a narrative that they do not know, they're not going to speak on it. They're going to give you every roundabout type of answer. They're not going to speak on it, And the reason is because America is supposed to be the powerhouse, the big badass. And now you've got things going on that they can't even explain. Try to, and they want to, but they know that they can't. So if they can't, and you've got all of these beings and craft flying in that they have zero control over, other countries are going to be like, okay, now's the time to hit them, because they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even know what they're looking at, and they can't even speculate on what they're looking at. So after this is done, we're gonna go in. That's the thought of most big countries like Russia, China. Those are their thoughts. But I can't say that. Just know that there's so much more to it, and you all are so much more important than you could ever imagine. So much more. I don't care about government. I think government should stay out of our lives because we can't even trust them to govern properly. So, as a people, I'm not talking Americans. I'm talking about humans. As a people, we should be coming together and helping one another and loving each other and trying to build upon that, And it would be just like that movie, or that sitcom, called Walkers with the Zombies, The Walking Dead. Yeah, it would be like that. It would be very close to that. Because you can have thousands of people that want to do the right thing, want to do good, and then you're gonna have some of them that are just fucked in the head, maniacal, and they just want to take over. You're fighting your own brethren. It's just not. It's never good. But just know that you're way more important than you think, and you need to learn how to sync these two things: your heart brain, and your mind. Sync them together. You can manifest anything you want. If it did not get me not only banned, probably captured by the government, I would show you guys what I could do. And I would get the worst comments. Doesn't matter. I have a family, I have friends that have seen all of this. But if I put it online, people would say editing, Photoshop, blah blah blah. No, it's not. It's just real. You all can do the same. But you have to go inside, deal with all of that, then come back out. You come back out, vibration, that frequency is higher. You're a different person. You're on a different level than everybody else. Not saying that you're better than everybody. Saying that you're different than everybody else. Your course has altered, and you can alter that course, or you can stay on the same course if that's what you want to do. You know, if you want to stay on the same course and you have no reason that you can think of to want to do anything better with your life, fine, stay on that same course. It's not going to bother us, not going to hurt us. Don't come to us when we come together and we're farming, we're living, a natural life, because there's no electricity, there's no infrastructure, there's none of these things exist. Don't come to us when you realize that. That's the thing. We have to be in this all together. So, sorry for the ramble, sorry for the rant. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I think everyone should do like Sun Tzu said, author of The Art of War, and prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And that's, at the end of the day, that's all we can do. But you know what? Don't let any of this superficial stuff get into the way. Do not. Please, that is the one thing I would say. The billions and billions of particles of DNA within your genome. What is it? 4% make up. I've said this in 3 or 4 videos. 4% of all of that makes up your skin color, hair texture, your hair color, your eye color, all of these things. Don't let that draw the line, because we are a species, and there's many other species out there. There's species out there that are wanting to help us. There's species out there that are wanting to hurt us. But at the end, they don't give a shit what color our skin is, what color our hair is. We have to stick together. Understand that. And if you don't believe, go do some research. I'm not going to sit here and, try to present 8-hour video piled with all of my research. But do your research. Do your research and then come back to me and tell me I'm wrong. I would gladly invite any of you that can do that. We're all the same. That's all there is to it. So please do your research. And if any of this has helped you, hit that sub. Let's get this out there to people. And I say this, I know a lot of you say this, but I really do want this out there to the masses. I want to run the numbers up on an algorithm, and I want this to be out there for people's pages. I want this to hit your homepage or IP. I want people to know this, because time is getting shorter, and this is not like 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 people were saying this. No, look at what's going on in the world. Look at what's going on. Look at what we're talking about. It's a different time. It's a different age. We just switched from our old age. So we went from Pisces to Aquarius. Now we're in Aquarius. Now it's serious, because we've got 13 and 25,000 years, cyclical. There's a cycle. Every 13, every 25,000 years, things are happening. Guess what? That's where we're at now. To come together, pool our information together, and take the ego out of it. If I say something and somebody's like, no, I think you're wrong there, because I have all this research and I've done this and it says this. You know what? I'm going with you. Great. Let me look at it. Let me read it. That's right. Cool. We're good. I'm not going to sit there and fight about it because you have to take your ego out of it. That's what happens to do that kind of work. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. Hope you guys have learned something for it. And the main thing is our community is to strive. We need to know every way to do every little case. Say there was an EMP that hit. There is no electricity at all. What would you do? Any contingency plans? Because if you do, you're not in a bunker. People are going to want to come after you. Well, if you're in one of these groups and you have nothing, can you make fuel? Can you make a gasifier? You filter things. You know, these are the things that we need. So trust me, do your research. Let me know in the comments what you think. I really, as you see, I interact with the comments. I talk to you guys. Appreciate it more than anything. Trust me, it touches my soul when you give me good comments and we can communicate. But just know that this community is growing, and I won't hold back from anything. You know, I will not hold back from information or anything that I think we should know. That's where I'm at. So I'll see you guys on the next one.